Hey guys, today I was going to go over some routine cleaning and lubrication of my half-inch impact here. This one is a Matco MT1769A, a.k.a. the Ingersoll Rand 2135 Ti Max. I know they're not exactly the same, but most of the parts, including all of your tune-up parts, would interchange directly with this. With the main difference being the case. So we're going to start off with a nice clean work surface. These are T25 Torx on the 4 screws that hold the case together. I'll go ahead and buzz those out real quick here. As we work our way around, we're going to be careful not to lose anything. We're going to keep good track of all of our tools here and all of our parts. Last one here. Now this case is going to slide apart. We're going to separate the hammer case from the housing. You can see inside of here there's a lot of grease, but what I'm really inspecting for is excessive wear. I clean this pretty regularly, so I don't expect to find any issues here. I'll remove the hammer and anvil, as well as the hammer and anvil case, and pull the gasket off. I will be saving it to reuse it. So like I said before, this is mostly just a routine cleaning procedure. I'm going to go ahead and slide the pins out of the hammer and anvil case. That allows me to fully separate and clean down on the inside. Now, if you haven't been doing routine maintenance on your half-inch impact, you might find some metal debris in here that might look like shiny flakes. You really want to keep an eye out for that if you see an excessive amount of wear on any of the mating surfaces. And you really don't want to take this apart and have it be dry. But I'm going to go ahead and slide this off to the side for now and get it all cleaned up, and we will clean up our pins here. I'm going to take the time and clean every part nicely by hand, and I will be re-lubricating before I put everything back together. I'm going to clean all of the grease out of the hammer case, inspect for any kind of wear where the hammer sticks out of the case, the business end of your tool as it were. It's kind of it can thrust into that and cause some excessive wear. You can see here it's a little bit shiny down on the end, but not too bad. Moving on from there, I will wipe out all of this grease, and really I don't see any metal flakes or anything. If I did, I might be considering a tune-up kit. Now over here, the anvil, you want to inspect the back of it, make sure the splines are in good shape. We'll clean out all of the excessive grease. We'll be inspecting where the hammers hit the anvil to make sure that they're not damaged. And now the hammers themselves. Really, this tool is in pretty great shape. So again, I don't expect to find anything, but this is a good quick run through on what you do need to inspect and how to take it apart and reassemble it. Inspecting the hammer and anvil case. There's not a lot of wear parts here. It's mostly just to keep the hammers floating in place. But you do have to inspect the splines closely, where it mates up to the little shaft that sticks out of the rotor. I'm going to slide this off to the side for now, and let's begin on the inspection and cleaning of our rotor and vanes. I'm going to start with a new clean rag here laid out on my toolbox. So first thing you want to do is just give it a little push here from the the selector on the back. Everything will come out as one piece. You can see inside of here, you shouldn't expect to see too much dirt and grime in there, but it does build up. I'm going to remove my torque selector here, inspect that for any breakage, any excessive wear. Now we're going to separate our front plate here, which is basically a thrust washer, as well as our rotor and vanes. Now, since I'm just doing a routine inspection here of the rotor and vanes, I'm not actually going to remove them. I'll be inspecting for play, making sure they're all in one piece. But if you do remove them, make sure that you put them back where they go, as they can kind of wear into their groove. I will be cleaning it pretty well and applying fresh air tool oil. I want to inspect my bearings here, make sure that they spin freely and they're not making any kind of noise. If you wanted to go a little bit deeper, you could pop out that snap ring and take the whole rotor itself out. But as far as I'm going today, again, I know this tool inside and out. I've taken it apart many times to clean it, and it's pretty well maintained. But what you see inside of your tool is going to vary a lot depending on how often you do this kind of maintenance, or if you've ever done it at all. So again, we'll be continuing going through clean rags, trying to get all of this this grease and grime off from here. If you let this stuff build up, things begin to wear in places that they shouldn't. I'm going to make sure I clean this sealing surface really well, as well as the O-ring here on our little selector. And really, this cleaning is only as good as you're willing to put into it. So if you go through, you take the time, Matco makes an excellent impact here. Or they rebrand it from Ingersoll Rand, however you want to look at it. I know that they're made to a little bit different specs than the IR version. Here I'm checking more bearings to check for any looseness or noise. And I'll go ahead and pop that right back in where I got it. Make sure that it sits flush. And I think that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and apply some air tool oil here and prepare for reassembly. Now, after a thorough cleaning of all of our parts and lubrication, we're going to reassemble it just the way it came in. Now, this adjuster has a tab that goes into this intersection. You can see that this is also supposed to be clocked here towards the bottom. And then we'll line it up in our case. You can see there at the bottom, your directional selector lines up there. Sliding that in, making sure the parts don't separate, and everything seems to be pointing the right direction. You want to make sure your screw holes line up. That's the most important part here. I'm gonna put a couple of them in here just to make sure we can realign it for assembly. Now, going back to our hammer case, you can see these are put in opposite directions inside of the hammer and anvil case. Slide those in together loosely, just like this. We'll take our freshly cleaned pins and drop them into place. Should be fairly loose, but not too sloppy. If these had any more slop, I would be a little concerned. We'll put our anvil in here. Slides in nicely. And I haven't really lubricated this part. I'll be greasing it after it's all together. But there we go. See, there's our grease port. Here's our gasket that we saved from earlier. If that's in bad shape, you might want to consider replacing it. I'm going to loosely place it. It has a clocking tab that has to be in the right position. I'm taking great care. I'm going to put a couple of bolts in here just to help us get this together. It's all going to want to kind of fall apart if you're not careful with it. So keeping everything aligned, I'm going to quickly slide this together and hand tighten a couple of our screws. And that's pretty much it for reassembly. I'm going to tighten these 4 down. If you have any issues reassembling this, it's usually best just to start over, take it back apart. But we'll go ahead and tighten these in. And that's about it. I will let this play out. Thanks for watching, and I hope this is helpful.